everybody. Thanks so much for tuning into my channel. It's Spirit here. And today we are going to talk about some tips on managing life with chronic illness. Now, today we're going to talk about food. And I chose food because it's so important. We all have to eat. And I just wanted to share some helpful tips that I've used that have worked for me. And I wanted to just let you all know about my thoughts about that, and make sure that you put in the comments below if you have some tips on food. First of all, many of you may not be able to cook. I would consider my condition moderate, meaning I am not bedridden. At the same time, I'm not at the point to where I can manage a full-time job situation. So I would consider my condition moderate. I can do some things for myself. Most things I can do for myself without any help. It just might take some time. So I just want to share those things with you. And for those of you who aren't familiar with my conditions, I have myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, multiple chemical sensitivity, Epstein-Barr, hypothyroidism. Those are some of the illnesses that I experience. So let's go ahead and let's get into those tips. Tip number 1, when you cook, go ahead and make large batches. For me, it doesn't make any sense to just make one meal and then turn around and cook the next day because I'm just not going to feel like it. So typically when I cook a batch, and I'm going to cook enough to at least have 5 meals off of it. So that would be tip number 1, is cook in batches. Tip number 2, I would recommend cooking 2 meats at a time. For example, you may want to cook some chicken legs and some turkey patties. Like you get those the turkey sausage patties. You can just easily put those in a pan, cook those, and then cook your chicken legs as well. You can have different meals off of that. You can end up turning those patties into spaghetti if you want to. You can pick the chicken off the bone if you have some extra and make chicken salad. So I would recommend cooking 2 meats at one time because it's really not much of an imposition if you just cook 2 or even 3 sometimes. Tip number 3, keep easy, high protein, no prep foods on hand. And what I mean by that is like maybe boiled eggs, sushi, almond butter, string cheese, peanut butter, cottage cheese, and I like eating cottage cheese and pineapple. So the reason why I recommend high protein is because it sticks to your ribs, it gives you a full stomach, and you're able to take your supplements and medications without having to eat, a lot of anything. So many times for breakfast, almost every single day for a period in my life, I was eating almond butter. I just, a couple of tablespoons of almond butter, and that would be my breakfast, literally that, a cup of coffee, and then I would take my supplements and my medications. Tip number 4, eat clean foods regularly. Now, of course, when I say clean foods, I mean non-processed meat, vegetables, fruit, eggs, just regular food without it being processed in a bag with nitrates, so on and so forth. Our body must have the nutrients and the proper nutrients it needs in order to heal and in order to function optimally. So food is very, very, very important. So the type of food is as well. Tip number 5, you want to limit your sugar. But let me give you something. Let me give you a tip because I'm a sugar person. I have a sweet tooth and I like sweets. And of course I had to cut down on sugar. So my suggestion to you is stevia. Everybody talks about use stevia instead. Well, I don't like stevia. It's too bitter, and most people would say the same thing. So what I do is I'll do 1 part sugar and then I'll do the rest stevia. So if that means you're going to use coconut sugar, or you may want to use agave nectar or honey, but you sprinkle a little of the stevia and it elevates the sweet taste while killing the bitter taste. So that's what I do. Even when I drink my coffee, I do the same thing, and that cuts down on calories as well. Tip number 6, purchase prepared meals. Now, one of my other videos, I mentioned Freshly, and this is not a sponsored video. Freshly is a company that you can just purchase meals from that are already prepared. And that's a really good idea, but for some people, like myself, Freshly is not an option. It's a little too steep for my budget. So I would recommend going to your local grocery store and getting frozen meals. There are plenty of frozen meals that you can get that are pretty healthy. Now, where I live, there's an actual prepared meals establishment that's about 10 minutes from my house. And they carry these healthy foods, and they have a variety of meals, and they're actually delicious. So when they go on sale for half price, I go in and I will pick up several meals and I'll put them in the freezer. So again, you might have something like that where you live. So I would check into that, because $5 per meal I can do, and I wouldn't do it for every meal, but sometimes you just want to pull something out of the freezer. So, and this particular place really has good quality food, and they take into consideration, the health of their customers. Tip number 7, pay someone who loves to cook for you. Now, somebody might say, I don't know anybody. Sometimes you just have to ask. So let me tell you my story. When I was working at a particular school, I got really sick, and I found a homeopath, and he gave me a list of foods. He says, you're going to have to eat anything off this list. This is all you can have, no exceptions. So I had this list of foods, and guess what? They were all natural food that had to be prepared. And so I just didn't have the energy. There's no way I could prepare the food and go to work every day. So I was in a little bit of a pickle. So I called somebody that I knew who catered for a former church member, and she couldn't do it for me. And then I said, well, let me just ask around. So there was a lady, coworker that I used to work with, and she subbed at my school. So I talked to her privately, I told her my situation. I didn't want anybody to know. I said, it's very private for me. Please, this is between me and you. And I told her my situation. And I gave her the list of foods. I said, do you know anybody who cooks? She goes, I love to cook. And she goes, I can do this for you. And I was like, just go ahead, take the list home and think about it. And she goes, oh yeah, I love it. I love going grocery shopping. I love cooking, and I will do this for you. And I said, okay, just take the weekend anyway. So she took the weekend. She came back and said, yes, she would like to do that for me. So what she would do is she would grocery shop. She would cook, clean, package my food in large containers, bring the food to the school, put it in the refrigerator, and after work, I would take it home, unpackage it, and freeze it in smaller portions. And so I would eat off of that for 2 weeks. That saved my life. Miss F, you saved my life. So I really appreciate it. I love you forever for that. You just don't know what you did for me. So I really, really appreciate that. So that would be my tip, is to find someone who loves to cook and pay them to cook for you. So I paid her for the food and for her labor, her services. Tip number 8, Walmart rotisserie chicken. It's an easy meal. You pick it up, it's already cooked. And as a matter of fact, I have contacted my Walmart about having a more natural form of their rotisserie chicken. And that's important for me to eat as healthy as possible. But what you can do with the rotisserie chicken is you can put some baked potatoes with that, and also bake some vegetables while your potatoes are baking. Those little peppers, those sweet peppers that you can buy in the bag, olive oil, lemon pepper, and some salt, and let them roast in the oven along with your potatoes, and you have an absolutely delicious meal with your rotisserie chicken. So that's an easy meal that you can fix. Tip number 9, organize your time wisely, especially when you're going to cook a more elaborate meal. Like, let's say you're having company, your family's coming over on Sunday, and you're going to be cooking a larger meal. Well, you need to make sure that you organize your time, because you can't do everything in one day. So maybe day 1, you go ahead and you get your groceries. Day number 2, you prep for the meal. And then day number 3, you cook. Certainly don't want to experience a crash or post-exertional malaise, PEM. For those of you with CFS, you know what I'm talking about. and then you're down for another week because you overdid it. So make sure that you pace yourself, and make sure that you organize your time, and make sure you're not doing too much at one time. But you can get it done. Tip number 10. I love salads. So I would go to a particular salad bar in town, or a couple of salad bars in town, and let me tell you the tip that I have for going to salad bars. And I know right now we're in a pandemic, so that's not going to apply for this time, but just under normal circumstances, you want to pack your tray. This is to go, by the way. You want to pack your to-go tray with all the goodies and all the essentials, and the meat and olive and mushroom and cheese and all that. You don't want to pack your container halfway with lettuce and spinach and the greens, because you can get a huge container of organic spinach from Walmart for like $4 or $5. So you can have that on hand anyway, and then you can use the toppings that you got from the salad bar, and you can have 6 or 7 salads off of that one trip that you made to the salad bar place. So I would recommend that. I would do that all the time, and I would have several meals off of that one container because I had my spinach or my lettuce on the side. So that's my tip. My final tip is tip number 11. Now, I know I just talked about eating healthy foods and eating clean foods, and that is important, but it's also important, just as important, to enjoy your life. So if there is a food that you really love that does not trigger you or make your symptoms worse, I would highly recommend that you indulge reasonably from time to time. I make sure sometimes I have ice cream. I just do, and I love it. I love Bluebell homemade. I love Bluebell homemade ice cream. I absolutely love it. So, there are times when I'm going to definitely have sweets more regularly than not, but I make sure I don't have too much of it. I don't have tons of it, and I make sure that it doesn't flare my symptoms. So you've got to enjoy life. That's part of mental health as you're experiencing chronic illness. These are all the tips that I have for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Just make sure you comment below if you have any questions. Let me know. Thanks to all of my new subscribers. I really appreciate you coming aboard. And I wish you all the best on your healing journey. I wish you the best. And may God bless you always, and always God bless. See you next time.